everybody, and welcome to Film Files. This is Josh and I'm Emmett. We're glad you're here. We're going to kick off this episode by launching straight into Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Hi. That's my delayed response. Go ahead.
Anyway, this is episode 7. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for coming.
Episode 7 is the anxiously awaited, most recent installment of Star Wars, and we would like to bring you through this episode with us. Now, this episode that we're doing is going to contain spoilers, so for anybody who hasn't seen this episode of Star Wars, go ahead and hit the pause button right now, go ahead and go out and watch it, and join the rest of the free world, and we'll wait. Okay, they're gone.
Han Solo dies. Just to let...
Wow, we're kicking out the spoilers quick.
Has Erin seen it?
I think she's seen it.
Okay, I was gonna say. Han Solo dies.
So our camera woman, Erin, gotta make sure she's seen it before we just spoil everything.
Yeah.
Han Solo dies, Luke Skywalker has 0 talking lines in it, 0 lines in it, and probably got paid more than Darth Maul.
Probably.
Just saying.
Well, like, I heard that with Han Solo, or with Harrison Ford, with as much money as they paid him, they could have filmed like another 20 minutes of a movie.
Holy cow.
Like with a full cast and everything. But that's kind of like besides the point.
Anyways, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. We want to kind of bring you on the journey with us as we discuss Star Wars. We're going to cover different points like cinematography, the acting, the directing, special effects that we see in Star Wars, kind of guide you through it. So to kick it all off, we're actually going to begin with the story to Star Wars and kind of the character development side of things. Seems like a pretty good place to start. So yes, more spoilers are contained in this section. If you've already had it ruined for you just then, hit the pause button now and go watch it.
Yes. All right. And sorry if I did spoil it for you, but not really because we warned you. So
we did warn you.
Yeah, we did. Okay. So starting out, our first thing to talk about is kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like in the first 10 minutes, we get introduced to a lot of characters. We've got a new Sith Lord. We've got a female protagonist, a stormtrooper that's like
a rebellious stormtrooper.
Yeah, breaks the mold of stormtroopers. We've got
once again the best star pilot in the galaxy.
Yes, that seems to be a recurring theme.
Not a Jedi this time. They're mixing it up.
No. But yeah, so anyways, let's talk about Poe first, because he's kind of like the first guy that we see. He's like this, like you said, he's kind of this resistance pilot that's apparently like the best in the galaxy, and it's pretty cool. They have this one shot later in the film where I counted, and he like takes out 18 TIE fighters all in one fell swoop. And it's like, okay. And stormtroopers actually as well. So
there are 2 things about Poe that I really like that actually have nothing to do with him. It's just built around the best star pilot in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. The very first thing that we do see within like the first 10 minutes of this show is actually the redemption of the TIE fighter. Now, I love the TIE fighter, but
You're talking about the escape scene from the...
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Escaping from the Star Destroyer at the very beginning when Finn busts Poe out of there. So, TIE fighters, I've always loved them. Episodes 4, 5, and 6, they're great, they're awesome, but they're also the prop that's used through the whole thing to show when we need somebody to die or just, knock them off. They're the disposable characters, if you will.
Yeah, anybody from really the Empire has been kind of just disposable at any point.
But in episode 7, we actually see the redemption. One of the first things we see is the redemption of the TIE fighter. And it comes when Finn and Poe, they bust out of there, right? And the real reason Finn busts him out is because he needs a pilot. Otherwise, he'd hightail it himself, right? Mm-hmm. So they hop into a TIE fighter and steal it and launch themselves out of there. Now, when they do it, there's just one line where Poe says, "Whoa, this thing really moves." And you can see it, like the visual effect of it, the thing accelerates like there's no tomorrow. And all of a sudden, the best star pilot in the galaxy gains this appreciation for the TIE fighter. Mm-hmm. Really cool moment. Really cool moment for me, just because the sound of the TIE fighter, just nothing's more terrifying than that.
I know. I can't even do it right now.
Oh, man.
But anyways, yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Like, we're seeing all these different things and gaining an appreciation for things that we haven't known before. So like moving on to Finn, I think like we talk about, he is essentially breaking the mold of stormtroopers. We've always wondered what these personalities are underneath the helmet, and like we get to see it for the first time. And I thought another and this can come into play later, but I thought, it's cool kind of when his friend, like, on Jakku has the, like, blood stain over his helmet, like, the red against the white just kind of, like, contrasts really well. And I don't know, like, I really like getting to know a stormtrooper because we've gotten to know the clone troopers in the first, like, the prequel trilogy. Like, we got to understand who they are and kind of in the Clone Wars series. But to, like, understand after all of that, like, who are these no-name people that can get force persuaded and whatnot.
Right, it was a unique perspective.
Yeah,
I kind of liked
it. was really
it.
nice. Yeah.
I mean, you still have the stormtroopers that are just robots and machines going this way and that.
Right.
Now, there also comes to it that not all stormtroopers are clones.
Right. Yeah, I think my theory is, or at least as far as I know, like, I'm pretty sure. Oh no! Wait, no! I take that back. Yeah, because General, what is his name? Hux. He talks about using clones, or is it Snoke that talks about using clones with him?
We'll go ahead and cut this out so that people don't know that you know nothing about Star Wars. But it's
No, it's fine.
What is it? I shouldn't say that. You know more than I do. It is
Supreme Leader Snoke talks to General Hux. Isn't
it's not Snoke. It's Kylo Ren discussing it with General Hux, where Kylo Ren makes a comment. Maybe you should have gone with clones.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Hux is defending them, saying, "My troops are the very best. They're stolen from the time they're children and raised up to do this one thing."
And then he's like, "Well, one of your men just." I can't remember what his
He's
line
like,
is.
"Well, apparently your men are really good at committing treason."
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, there's more about Finn, and I want to get back to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to take a detour and get your thoughts on the first real main female protagonist in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so Rey is, I don't know why, but, like, I just really identify with her. I don't know if it's, like, a movie watching identify or, like, personality, because I don't really feel like I'm like her, but just, I don't know, there's just something really refreshing about having her as the main character. I don't know that I think about it as much or as deeply as some people, like, oh, she's a female protagonist. Well, what's the agenda here, kind of a thing. And I feel like they do a really good job of not making it so intense if there is an agenda, because I'm sure that there is some kind of agenda there, but it's not intense. I mean, it's kind of like when Princess Leia was in the series. She's not, like, overbearing, but you can tell that, like, she wants to be recognized as a woman who can do things. And I think Rey kind of holds that same mantle in this movie, but just, like, we haven't really had a main character either that, like, utilizes the Force and does all those things. And so I think just in a way she's kind of like just a cool character that we've never really had before.
Yeah, it's really neat. And like you said, I don't think it was overbearing. There wasn't any real message in it. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
I'm okay with saying it's just awesome.
Yeah. I feel like there's not really something to put my finger on, but I just feel like there's something about her that just is great, and it's like a fan fulfillment. I don't know what it is, but
well, it's like whenever she's in the scene, you're going right along with her. Whereas there were times where I felt like when Finn was in the shot or some of the lines he had, I just kind of face-palmed it for a minute there.
I know,
just
you're
like,
just like,
dude, seriously?
Right.
But every time Rey's in the shot, I absolutely loved it.
What I love about her too is that she, like, is totally a believable girl, like, realistic girl that you'd find in the real world. She kind of has, like, lived on her own around these, like, scavenger guys, and so she has to defend herself. So, like, I love the line when Finn grabs her hand to help her run, and she's like, "Why are you grabbing my hand?" or whatever, because she's like, that's the last thing on her mind is, like, any kind of romance or whatever, and so she just is instantly, like, defensive about somebody, touching her. But I thought that at the same time she's really sensitive, and, like, when they're at Maz's cantina, like, area, like, when she begs him not to go and she's like, "Please don't go," and, like, and then at the end, like, when he's being taken care of and by the nurse or whatever, and she, like, kisses him on the forehead. I don't necessarily think that as romantic as much as it is just, like, affection, and she just cares about him. And I think that sensitive side of women, I feel like we live in a world, and I might, people might hate me for saying this, but I feel like we live in a world where we're getting away from, like, women can be sensitive and nurturing, and I really liked that. But you can also be, like, someone that people look up to and still be that way, if that makes sense. And it's just like, You know, you take characters like Katniss. Katniss wouldn't be who she is if she didn't care about Prim. Like, you take away that nurturing side of her, because she was basically Prim's mom. Like, I know we're getting on a tangent, but...
Katniss from the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Yes, it is. And Jennifer Lawrence is an amazing actress. But anyways, like, you take that away, and that gets rid of the... Like, she is not anybody without that sensitivity. And so I think, in a way, we need films that display female protagonists or strong female characters that do still have some kind of sensitivity and nurturing side to them.
I mean, I'm not going to get into it too much, but it's like, it's... Rey has a very real sense about her. Like there's something real about her that you just cling to.
Yeah.
And it's a neat combination of she can take care of herself. She can be on her own and is on her own since a very young age is what it appears. And yeah, takes care of herself, but is still, I mean, what's the word, feminine?
Yeah, I think that effeminate, yeah.
Effeminate, and just very not hardcore one way or another. She's very balanced, a very balanced character.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, I guess, who haven't we talked about? We haven't talked about Kylo Ren. He's an interesting character. I thought it was really interesting. I'm not sure that I've seen Adam Driver in a lot of films, but I felt like his character was very menacing. And then, in my opinion, the moment he takes the helmet off, he's not menacing anymore. Until he like gets in Rey's face or gets in somebody's face. But I don't know, you kind of have a different opinion, I feel like.
I do. I have a slightly different opinion on this. Well, okay, so the first time I watched Star Wars, which of course was opening night at 7 o'clock, which is awesome. The first time we see Kylo Ren's face, when he drops that helmet and takes it off, you're just like, okay, British Team Beat cover boy? It's like, this guy is no longer menacing. I mean, we watched this guy catch lasers with his hand,
Yeah,
or
no
stop
joke.
them right there, which, by the way, new Sith or new Jedi technique. Darth Vader only was ever able to, I guess, have his hand get shot up and nothing happened.
Right.
This guy can stop laser blasts from actually going through the air. That's cool. This guy is amazing.
So nuts.
We know that he's got a temper. We know that he has basically all the rage you would imagine in a Sith.
Yeah.
But then he takes off his helmet, and you can't help but think, this is the guy?
I know, it's like
Like,
okay.
wait, this guy is the one that's cutting people down and telling all the stormtroopers to kill the innocent people? I don't believe it. But then, and I really noticed this the second time I watched it, he gets in Rey's face, and he gets really up close and personal to her. And there's a moment there where there's just this sense of, what do you call it? I had a word for it. What is the word? Vulnerability. That's the word. There's this moment of pure vulnerability when Rey's just sitting there, unable to move anywhere, bracing for a whole set of torture, and he comes in close and goes, I can take anything I want from you. You're just, sends chills down your spine.
Yeah.
When you realize that even though he's like soft-spoken, it's like, aren't serial killers for the most part soft-spoken?
Yeah.
And you can't help but
It was
think,
really creepy.
holy cow, this guy could be nuts. Totally nuts. And then you find out he's Han's son. Spoiler. How does that happen?
I know. It's like, how does somebody go from one end to the other? But yeah, it's nuts. Like you
What
said.
do I know? All I
Right.
can say is, what do I know?
So just a couple of other quick characters that we haven't talked about but deserve a mention. BB-8, fun new character, definitely relatable. It's nice seeing a new droid and being able to just like think that he's the cutest thing ever, and his little motions like with the lighter, how he gave the thumbs up, that was super cool. I really like that. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really cool character. I also noticed that like he looks up to R2 as this like role model legend. And he's like always trying to, nudge him into activity out of his low power mode. And it's just like, I love that he just like looks up to another droid.
Well, he is kind of short.
Yeah.
He does look up to everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yes.
true. But
When I first saw the trailers for it and saw BB-8 just kind of rolling through the sand, I couldn't help but feel like, oh no, here we go again.
yeah,
But I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that BB-8 was not a disappointment. He's kind of cool. And we watched some of the behind the scenes stuff and everything. Wasn't always CG. It wasn't always just computer animated,
No.
which was very refreshing.
There were like, if I remember correctly, there were like 9 or 10 different versions of him, including, so there were puppeteered versions, there were RC control versions, there were, I think 1 or 2 digital versions. So like, they did a really good job. And Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, she was like, anybody who sees BB-8 will just absolutely fall in love with him. That's essentially what she said. And it was just like, it's so true. Like, he is this great character in the movie. And it's so reminiscent of R2. Like, he's not this underspoken hero of everything and doesn't always save the day like R2 did, but he's like this integral part of what's going on, I think.
So there's that element of R2, like in episode 5, when Luke the whole time is like, no R2, and just kind of going on with that sort of droning voice, just like, oh, come on, dude. And it's in a playful way, it's in a friendly way.
Right.
BB-8 was kind of a different character, where BB-8's having like real heart-to-heart conversations with Rey, which once again makes you feel closer to Rey, and actually makes you just totally fall in love with BB-8. And I think she was right that way, and I think that's how the actress who plays Rey actually carried it out.
Yeah.
Like making you want to fall in love with him, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention a couple things here,
Okay, go for it.
and I don't think I'm gonna be very controversial.
Okay.
But BB-8 was not annoying. R2-D2 not annoying.
No.
C-3PO, when I watched the old series again, preparing for episode 7, bugged the heck out of me.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it
I
was
can
just
see that.
unbearable for a few moments there whenever he was showing up in the scene. In episodes 1, 2, and 3, and 3, I couldn't stand C-3PO again. I just couldn't do it. And I was a little worried coming into this film. I mean, we've already suffered through Jar Jar Binks. C-3PO was just barely bearable. Then we come into this, and your favorite droid of all time, R2-D2, is like non-existent. He doesn't show up until the very end of the movie. And you're just like dying this whole time going, why doesn't, R2-D2 fly with the best star pilot in the galaxy?
Right.
We need that. But BB-8 was very much a good stand-in. In fact, his own character, and does it very well.
I think so.
I think J.J. Abrams did it right.
Nice.
No Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. All right, so let's do a quick minute rundown here. I'm going to set a timer for a minute, and we're going to go through the cast as their characters and just try and get through as many as we can and say what we give our little opinion of it.
Okay, we'll go back and forth.
All right, so ready, set, go.
Okay, Rey, female protagonist that's somebody we all love.
Daisy Ridley did a really good job, like I said before. Wouldn't have picked anybody better. All right, Adam Driver is Kylo Ren.
Actually loved him, and the more I watch it, the more I like him.
Nice.
But didn't like him at first. Okay, let's go Finn, FN 2187.
John Boyega also did a really surprisingly good job. Surprisingly, he's also British.
Not really into the whole huffing and puffing, but seeing as how he is British, I loved watching him.
Well, he was sweating the whole time in the desert, so.
Well, yeah, he probably wasn't used to it.
Yeah. Okay, Andy Serkis
as Snoke.
Snoke.
Was so worried that he was going to be really, really big, but as soon as he was a hologram, I loved him.
I know. He somehow changes that voice every time. All right, real quick, who do we have left? Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron?
Oscar Isaac as Poe. A lot of whooping and hollering, a little yeehaws for me, but not too bad.
All right. Well,
loved watching him.
Okay, well, that's our time. So
that
was our quick minute rundown.
All right, we're actually going to take a quick break, and don't go anywhere. It'll probably only be a second for you, so we'll see you on the other side.
Sounds good.
I'm still not done with believing. There's still some time till the dream ends. I think you know.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about cinematography and kind of the more aspects of like filmmaking and how those really kind of apply to what we're talking about and reviewing the Force Awakens. So let's go ahead and just, I guess, jump right into it. We wanted to talk mainly, to start out, about lighting.
So lighting is my favorite area, the whole cinematography and the whole cinematic experience. I'm always looking in movies to see how they're lighting the sets, how they're doing everything. I I noticed it was pretty obvious. Probably everybody did notice this, that anytime there was a good character, anytime there was a protagonist in the shot, their face was always completely lit up. And that's even true of Finn when he's leaning in real close to Maz and saying, "You don't know the first thing about me." And then he takes off and he's going to run away. Even then, his face is completely lit up. So every protagonist is in just beautiful light wherever they go, which makes you love Rey even more. And it was really obvious that whenever there was one of the First Order members, that unless it was a stormtrooper, it was just basically a walking bright white light, they are always partially in shadow. Kylo Ren is the biggest example of this, that he is constantly having half of his face shadowed up completely. There's like not any time where he doesn't have either part of his face not lit or like light here, red light here, white light on the other side. And it really just kind of, like, I love lighting because it always tells a story by itself. And so there's that. There's with the good and the bad characters.
So something real quick about that. In some of the older films, or just older now, I guess, you see a lot of lighting variations with good and evil. Take, what's his face? Anakin, when he's good, you know, when Jedis are, you know, have their hoods on, you can usually see their faces pretty bright. But once you get to the point of once Anakin turns evil, a lot of the like poster treatments and stuff that they did for him, it was like this half dark, half lit face with the like reddening eyes. And so it's kind of interesting seeing that transition of like, oh, fully lit, like represents good. And then once you approach this kind of dark side evil, you migrate to this half shadowed face. And so I think that really was evident in this film, especially just with, like you say, Kylo Ren or like Snoke. I felt like even though he's a hologram, he's kind of like in this darkly lit environment. And so yeah, I think that really illustrates the point of like good versus evil.
And I'm glad they went with it, because Kylo Ren did have enough hair that they could have gone all Spider-Man 3 and had the hair cover half his face and be all flipping it this way and that. I'm really glad they went with the lighting.
Like a Garnier Fructis commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the
Herbal
dark
Essence,
side.
actually, I think. Anyways.
The Garnier of the dark side.
Anyways.
We should cut that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, there was definitely some good use of the lights. Abrams and their directors of cinematography, if you will, did some really cool tricks, not just with the lighting. And I want to jump ahead of this because I know we have another example of good lighting. But not just with lighting and using that to help tell the story, because good versus bad, very easy story to tell within the Star Wars universe with the lighting. There was a moment when Han Solo and Leia Organa Skywalker Solo go and embrace, and it's right before Han leaves to go on the daring mission to Death Planet, or Starkiller Base.
Death Planet.
So she comes in, they hug, and it's her face, and you can see her, and she goes, "Bring our boy home," or something to that effect. And when she does it, the camera starts to fade a little bit, and they're just brought barely out of focus. And when I watched it the second time, I'm looking at that scene going, why are they fuzzy? What's supposed to be in focus here? And I realized in that instant that they weren't actually going for putting anything in focus. It's in that moment where when you're reminiscing about something, you're kind of brought back a little bit, and you're sort of like not looking at anything. Everything comes in fuzzy. And they used that little trick with focus to really make it so that everybody is going back into their thoughts for a second without actually showing them the thoughts, without showing us the thoughts. This happier time that used to be when we have Leia going, "I want him back," and bring him home, and then it fades back. All of a sudden you're thinking, wow, life used to be good for these people.
I don't know, I just had a thought that's unrelated to cinematography, but I just realized too that like when Leia's having that conversation with Han, it's, "You can bring our son back," and he feels like there's nothing I can do. I don't have the Force. I'm a nobody. Like, I'm a scavenger, no good, rotten scoundrel who like gyps people out of as much money as I can. And it's interesting to me how Leia very distinctly makes the point, like, you're his father, you can do more good than you imagine. And it was interesting too because we kind of get the backstory a little bit that we kind of understand that maybe Ben or Kylo at one point was more affectionate towards his mom than he was his dad. He wasn't super close with his dad, maybe. I don't know. I just kind of gathered that in listening to the conversation. But I just thought that was a really interesting point that, like, dads can make a difference too, and especially people who, like, are not significant. They don't have the Force. They can make a difference. And I think that even plays into, okay, well, even if Finn never again uses a lightsaber, even if he's just slightly Force sensitive, or Poe, same thing, who's to say that they're not important anymore? You know what I mean? They're still vital parts of the overall story.
That was definitely a theme in this Star Wars, that you don't have to be a Jedi in order to really make a difference.
Yeah. So anyways,
It's
that was
pretty
my
neat. So
side
that's
rant.
A little side rant back
Yeah.
into character development.
Yeah.
Okay, but along with that and kind of going back through the lighting thing, with the whole cinematography topic we're supposed to be on. So there's that moment where Kylo Ren and Han meet on the bridge. And of course that's when Han Solo yells out, "Ben!" And you realize, oh, wow, okay, this guy's name is Ben. Which, if anybody read the old books from like the 80s and 90s on the different Star Wars characters, you know that Ben may or may not be a real person. Which always begs the question, where are the Solo twins? Coming back on point for what we do know. We have Han Solo and Ben, also known as Kylo Ren, joining together on this bridge. And, of course, they're on a bridge. This is the bridge. Which side are you going to go on? Are we going to burn this bridge? Are you going to come back to the light? Will you cross the bridge indefinitely to the dark side? Very symbolic scene. Really cool how the lighting... There was one scene that lasted about a second and a half, and it's my favorite moment in the entire movie, where you see Han Solo walking out to meet his son on the bridge at the... point where whichever way they move, it'll be past the point of no return. And as they do that, Finn and Rey come walking in through the door. It opens up, and the light from the sun as it's being drained to Starkiller Base. Oh, very complex scene. Light comes in and shines right down on that bridge, and it basically puts them in the light. It's cinematically telling you, this is what you need to focus on, because this is the key, this is the turning point, this is the most crucial point of the whole movie that's going to set up the rest of Star Wars. And this conversation happens. And it's cool because the light's just right on there, and that's how we bring in lighting and cinematography. Now let's go back to character development. Kylo Ren starts talking to his dad, and the way he's speaking is as if he's using Snoke's words, as if Snoke and the dark side are speaking for him. And then, before we have any understanding of him coming back to his own thoughts, to his own words, he starts talking and saying these words like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. In that moment, I don't think he's actually talking to Han Solo. I think he's actually talking to himself and talking to the dark side. He's much more prone to talk to the spirit of Darth Vader.
I could see that.
Than he is to his own dad. And so when he's like, I don't know if I have the strength to do this, will you help me? He's not talking to his dad. I think he definitely was making the decision. I mean, maybe you can say he was talking to both parties, but he made the decision. He chose to cross the bridge to the dark side indefinitely, and he burned the bridge. Well, Chewie shot it.
Yeah.
Chewie shot first.
He did.
That is confirmed?
Yes. It is confirmed.
It is confirmed. Chewie shot first.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't really have anything to add. I think that's a very poignant scene in the movie, and I think it deserves, a lot of attention as far as film study goes. But yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything to add. That was really good. But yeah, the attention to detail in these movies, though, is, I mean, it really, that's what gets me, is Abrams, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but he just does such a good job of not only paying tribute to the Star Wars series, but just really trying so hard to make a great film. And he really pulls it off, I feel like. And one of the things that I noticed as far as what we're talking about is in the special effects, when we see the TIE fighters or the X-Wings, we're seeing noticeable things like when there's the wing cam, and that's another thing that I really liked. It was like they stuck a GoPro right on the X-wing's wing, and you like can see it move, and it's just so cool. But they do moisture contrails on the X-wings, which show up on the edges of the wings when like it's going fast enough through moisture in the air, and that happens in real life with planes or jets. Like you get those moisture that like suddenly shows up like a little cloud on the wing edge, and I really like that. And or like where there's the shot on Jakku where you see the TIE fighters in the sun, you can see their exhaust trails, like the distortion in the atmosphere because of the exhaust coming out of it. And like it's just little details like that to me that really make the film feel more real. It makes the TIE fighters feel like a real vehicle that could actually be flown, because it uses some kind of fuel source. Like we've never really, because they're mostly in space the whole time, and you don't really get that.
I mean, the only thing I wish they did was put a GoPro on the helmet of Poe Dameron as he's flying around on, what is that planet? Maz's planet?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He's flying around on there. I wish they would have put the camera, instead of facing him, just put on his helmet facing out. I mean, you can Photoshop that out. I wanted to see him fly out and take out the 18 different TIE fighters while he's blasting the guys on the ground. It's amazing how good he was at that. Okay, tell me this, though. Was it unbelievable, or was it actually believable how good he was as a pilot?
I think so. I think he's not so good to the point where he's invulnerable. Like we didn't really see him take a whole lot of damage or anything. Like he's still kind of invincible as a character, but I don't feel like he is, if that makes any sense at all. Like when I think of Poe Dameron, I don't think of somebody that's untouchable like Darth Sidious, or the Emperor. I think that he's completely vulnerable. It's just he's really good at what he does. I don't know. What about you?
I'm okay accepting that. I mean, I thought he was maybe a little too good at what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody's got to be the Red Baron.
Right.
Somebody has to be.
Yeah.
If not, there wouldn't be a Red Baron.
Exactly. Otherwise, Snoopy will come in and get him.
Does that even make logical sense?
I got it.
Without a Red Baron, there wouldn't be a Red Baron. But is the Red Baron actually that good?
I don't know. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? If a woodchuck could wood.
All the wood.
Woodchuck all he could if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
All the wood the woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
I haven't heard that one before. Anyways.
That's the answer. Anyway, we've solved that riddle now. Woodchucks can chuck wood, and all that they can. But what you were saying before about Abrams, he really did stay true to the Star Wars trilogy and the Star Wars, like the whole feel of Star Wars. Now, some people have told me that Abrams probably hit the nostalgia button a few too many times when he was setting up this movie, when he was involved in the writing and directing it and all that. Yeah, that might be true. But I'm okay with it because it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. Like, we've talked a lot about this, like in our own circle of friends too. And I feel like the writing was, as far as the Starkiller base or whatever, like that's totally a ripoff of the Death Star. Like, no joke.
And Death Star 2?
Right, totally. Like, no joke about it. Or even the Droid Federation ship. Like, same concept. And it's interesting how, the defense of that has been, oh, well, this is the hero's tale, and that's essentially the same formulaic thing every time. But really, I don't even like to... that was the one thing that I was really not impressed with when the movie came out. But now thinking more about it, that is the vehicle. It's a less important vehicle for a much bigger, deeper story that involves Rey and Finn and Poe and Kylo. I think for me, when I walk out of the movie theater, back in my mind, I'm being nagged a little bit about how Starkiller Base is just a ripoff. But the main thing I'm impressed with, and the main reason why I can walk out of that film and love it so much, is because of the main story being so good with those characters. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm okay with that. I don't know. I just feel like we can all just say a silent prayer of thanks that Starkiller Base was the background story as opposed to the full-on story. Yeah. Where the first Death Star was basically a central role. Like the discovery of the Death Star was a big deal. Yeah,
I would say even in A New Hope, you have like Luke's story and the story against the Empire, and they're kind of like on the same importance level. Whereas this one, it's kind of like this is mainly just in the background, and really we have this other story going on.
Now, there's another thing I want to bring up. It's a little off topic.
That's fine.
But it kind of goes with the directing and the style that J.J. Abrams has, where everything that you see, you're feeling it at the same time. Everything feels heavy. Like the characters are really trying hard to do whatever it is they're doing. Like even the best star pilot in the galaxy is actually still struggling and having to really focus as he's flying the TIE fighter on this little escape mission. Or even Kylo Ren's lightsaber, where it's not a perfect beam. And it's like, if he studied under Luke Skywalker, how come he doesn't have a perfect beam coming out of that lightsaber? Who taught him to make it all flamey and weird? I don't know. It was interesting.
It's a Sith thing. I'll explain later. Anyways, go ahead.
But I guess the point is like, it looks crude, it looks physical, everything looks like it's actually costing these characters to do it. And it's a huge contrast from Episode 3 when you have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker when they're on the rescue mission to save the it's not the Emperor yet, Palpatine. Chancellor Palpatine.
Yes.
When they're on the rescue mission to save Chancellor Palpatine, they're basically flying out of their ships that they're just barely crash landed as though it cost them nothing, flipping through the air, or at least Anakin does, and cutting down droids like they're nothing. And it's like they didn't even pay us the service of making the battle droids actually hard to kill anymore. They were just comical relief at that point because there wasn't enough Jar Jar.
So here's a question for you. Do you think that heavy feel comes from the use of practical effects?
Part of practical effects and just the style of Abrams, that these things that the characters are doing actually costs something to do it. I mean, it's kind of like when you're playing a video game,
right,
and you're sprinting. Most video games these days, you can't sprint indefinitely.
Right.
I mean, most video games, everything you do is really heavy. I mean,
Right.
Gone are the days of Halo when you can jump in the air and it looks like it costs 0 energy. So yeah, everything about this movie is heavy. It's costing these characters to actually do it. And I really like that feel of it. Because I don't know about you, but the last time I ran a half marathon, I was tired after it. And all I was doing was running. I didn't fight anybody along the way, carry a lightsaber, or have to carry a giant blaster with me the whole way. Everything these characters are doing actually costs them something.
Right.
And I really like that.
Yeah. I think, like you said, to round it out the thought, I think I like being able to feel like something's draining when you're watching it. Because, I mean, I like going through the same feelings as the characters and feeling exhausted and feeling like I have an emotional and physical investment in what I'm doing. And so you feel that when, even at the end when Rey is struggling to fight Kylo, it's like you can feel that she's putting everything she's got into it. And by this point, you're just so physically drained and, from all that's going on and people that have died and stuff, and it's just like, this is it, kind of a thing.
I mean, a cinematic adventure really should be that you should feel physically and emotionally drained after you're done with this. That's really a sign of a good cinematic adventure. Was there anything else? Oh yeah, there was one weird thing about it though, with everything feeling heavy, very physical, costing him all the time. There were a lot of out-of-breath people.
Yes, there were.
Yes.
It's actually a joke point of a lot of critics right now.
But you know what? It's they're definitely working on it. I don't know if you saw the Resistance base, but everybody there was running around as though they're training for a marathon. So I definitely have some high hopes that they're going to fix it in Episode 8.
They're just not sitting around welding things together anymore. They're running around.
Yes, because in Episode 4, that's what everybody did. Cool difference between George Lucas and J.J. Abrams is that George Lucas, in order to show motion or urgency or just stuff for the background people to do, he had them using blowtorches the whole time, welding torches.
You see sparks flying everywhere.
And
like X-Wings and
you're
stuff.
thinking, when you really start to think about it, you're just wondering, are these rebels really up for fighting? They're just cutting chunks off of their X-Wing fighters. Is there really this much welding necessary? But
it's kind of like an industrial revolution kind of feel, like you're seeing work being done.
Of course, when I first watched it, being 5 years old, I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what you do when you work on a car. There should be sparks.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've covered that.
So what's the next thing that we wanted to talk about?
Looking through our notes, went too far. We wanted to talk about directing. So there's one more point about the directing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
But I'm going to say that again. We're going to need to hit the highlight tag. Oh yeah, one last thing about the physical nature of the film is that we're seeing a lot of films these days come out with that really physical feel that these things that these actors are doing actually aren't easy, or the characters rather. What the characters do is not easy. We saw that in Jack Reacher, where you have Tom Cruise. He steals a car to chase after some bad guys, and he's like driving this car through the streets, and he's looking awesome and everything doing it, but he's crashing this car into everything along the way. Like, gone are the days of Fast and Furious where their driving skills are perfect and flawless. They're not perfect and flawless anymore.
Yeah, we want our characters to be flawed now, I feel like. It's really interesting how we went from James Bond, who never got shot ever. Like, I think you can count the times on your hand how many times he's been shot in film. Well, actually not including Daniel Craig, before Daniel Craig. But anyways, it was just like, you have these characters that don't have to put up with cosmetic damage or being injured or things like that. And so I think this imperfect hero that we're seeing in movies now a lot is really interesting, and kind of the mentality behind that.
It was cool the approach Abrams used, where it's like the physical nature of like a Bourne Identity type movie, where everything is really hands-on and in your face. And then like the imperfection of it, like in Jack Reacher, and in a lot of these movies coming out now, is really cool.
Nice.
Really nice to see.
So, are there anything else that we want to discuss?
We talk enough about the special effects. There was one scene, though, in the entire Star Wars movie, Episode 7, that I did not like nor appreciate.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we got to talk about this.
Yes, because we haven't talked about it enough outside of this episode.
We did.
And that would be not Death Planet, not anything like that, not super ginormous Snoke. No, all that's fine. I'm okay. I'm accepting of that. What I am not accepting of is the Hitler speech. It's just, I mean, I get it. Like, stormtroopers can go rogue.
Just real quick. So what we're talking about is we cut away to, they've made it to the rebellion, right? Our heroes have made it to the rebellion.
Yes. Our heroes, our protagonists, they've made it all the way to the resistance base.
Or the resistance, yeah.
And they're chilling. They're given the reports. They're being debriefed. They're catching their breath because they've been seriously out of breath since minute 1.
And then you cut to Starkiller Base, giant killer planet. And we see, like you say, kind of this Nazi-type speech with the huge red banners hanging everywhere kind of thing. And General Hux is, like, giving this speech of, I don't know, go ahead.
And it's just like he's this dictator, even though there's another dictator over top of him. He's this dictator that's, like, rallying the troops, and he's just angry, and he's just vindictive, and all of these things meshed in one. He's slowly building up until he's like screaming and yelling, and he's raising his fist, and he's ready to just like pound on the table. He looks like Hitler. You watch those World War II documentaries, and he's straight out of that. Like, that's where he got his acting classes in, was watching World War II documentaries. And then it, of course, it turns back to the troops that he's addressing, and it's panned through them through the whole thing. There are tons of them there. First of all, he has no microphone. And it's a huge place with all these troops there just kind of listening to him. The second thing, the thing that bothers me, is that, I mean, at the beginning of the film, we're led to believe that Finn is a rare type, that he is a stormtrooper with emotions, that he can actually feel things and feel for people. Not just the sense to run away, but actually feel for people and actually, cares for Rey and all that stuff. And he's supposed to be the anomaly. How do I say this? Stormtroopers, except for Finn, are supposed to be faceless, nameless, robotic, clones, or conditioned, like Jason Bourne, to not need the hype, the ooh-rah, the camaraderie, or anything like that. They wear their masks the whole time so that nobody has an identity other than Stormtrooper or FN2187.
Right, it's a sense of anonymity.
Yeah, sense of anonymity. And then all of a sudden, like, we're supposed to believe that they need a pep rally?
That's a really interesting point. It's like they shouldn't need that. They should have their basic training that kind of gets them through. But I mean, even our own military now, like a lot of people are fine after they leave that initial training. But I mean, don't they need an additional pep rally there too?
And I guess my other point,
or is it part of the propaganda of the First Order? You know what I mean? Is it part of the brainwashing type of mentality to make sure that people like Finn don't happen? I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't know. I've just been thinking about that.
So, I mean, unless they were filming it, recording it, and then sending it out to all the other planets and systems, I just feel like, what was the point? Everybody knew the mission. Everybody knew what was going to happen. Did we really need this self-empowering moment of General Hawks? And it's just like, if not that, what are we supposed to take away from that one scene? That they're evil? I think we get it that they're evil. I mean, other than Finn, once again, the anomaly, the exception. Stormtroopers have no problem blasting apart unarmed people and civilians, women and children.
Yeah.
Got that. We know that they're being led by a guy who freaks out and has hissy fits and cuts apart rooms with his lightsaber all over the what is it? The ship.
The ship, yeah.
The ship. And it's like the stormtroopers coming around the corner and seeing, like, it's a funny scene. Like, they come around the corner and they see all the sparks flying out, and they know that Kylo Ren is just going to town in there. They, like, stop, back up, and go away. But what that tells me is that they're used to it. They're used to things like that. I think they're pretty much used to their leaders being evil. I think we're used to the leaders of the First Order being evil. I don't think we need an additional Hitler speech to convince us.
I wonder if that's mainly Abrams' commentary on General Hux's character, because it is unnecessary for the stormtroopers, yeah. But even if they don't need it, maybe Hux needs it for himself, to prove to himself that he is this leader, because I feel like he is trying to promote himself to be something more than even what Snoke thinks of him as. I feel like he's just trying to meet these unrealistic expectations. So I wonder if that's part of the issue there, if it's a commentary on his character.
I just have a hard time with it. Maybe it's coming from episodes.
I mean, I do think that, like you say, it's not really a necessary scene, but I wonder if it's saying something bigger about him.
I mean, maybe the new enemy is the Germans instead of the British. I guess we're moving from the Revolutionary War to World Wars I and II.
I don't know.
I mean, it really could be that way. So you have the Death Stars, and you have Commander What's-His-Face, and the Emperor, and both of them are like, thank you for that information. You may fire when ready. Or, fire at will, Commander. You know, just bad impersonations.
Right.
And it's just so easily delivered. We don't need any additional oorah. We don't need a pep rally. It's just fire at will because this is what you're trained to do. And it kind of goes with the whole Sith idea, and I guess German or Nazi German idea, I should say, of the systematic destruction of an entire people or system. And so they did that very routinely, very, very methodically. They thought it out. I don't know. I just felt like it was the one scene that was out of place that did not have the same delivery from all the other lines.
Yeah.
And all the other scenes.
And then real quick, on a separate note, one thing that I didn't like or I thought could have used some major improvements were Captain Phasma's character. She's, like, not really a character.
Well, we don't even know who she is. All we know is she dresses up in silver because she's the one female stormtrooper, so apparently she has a sense of
Well, and
fashion.
that's from Senator Palpatine's Coruscant ship, by the way. She made her armor out of his ship. You know how those ships are silvery? Yeah, so that's some little lore for you. But yeah, she just, like, and then she just does what Finn and tell her to do. Like, there's no, like, oh, I secretly alerted the whole Empire of what you're doing here. It's like, okay, fine, I'm going to follow your orders. Because I truly believe that you're going to kill me, Finn.
Yeah, she was the one that kind of felt out of place.
Yeah, I feel like her character needs to be more menacing.
But
in the next
we
movies.
may see a redemption of her coming up.
I hope so.
I mean, she was important enough to name.
Right.
Do you really think she's going to die in a trash compactor?
No, I don't. I honestly don't. But I thought that part was really funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was the nostalgia button once again, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
So to round out everything, overall, how did you like the movie?
The more times I watch it, the more I'm in love with it. I may even come around to the Hitler speech.
Maybe.
That's how I feel about it.
Very nice. I think for me, I have to, whenever I view movies, I have to approach it from both a escapist viewpoint as well as a critical viewpoint. And I think critically speaking, Abrams did some really good things with it. I think he, touched on the nostalgia button. They might have used a couple of weak story lines here and there, but overall, I think it's a great story that deserves further attention and further look, and makes you want to delve into what's really going on behind the scenes. As well as an escapist point, I'm absolutely in love with the film, and I want to watch it over and over again, and I already want to pre-order it and everything.
Oh, seriously though, I'm right there with you. Yeah. I totally feel the same way. I feel like this movie was J.J. Abrams saying, I can do Star Wars and I can do it right. Yeah. I can leave out the stuff that's unnecessary. Of course, nobody's perfect, as I just ranted about, but it sets up the next 2 installments to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so looking forward to it. So looking forward to it.
Well, thanks so much for watching, and join us next time for whatever movie we end up talking about. But make sure to leave comments below. Let us know what you think. We want to make this a regular thing. So again, thanks for joining us. I'm Josh. This is Emmett. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Have a good night. Or morning, or whatever.